Zacari just released his first studio album, and first project to date, Run Wild Run Free, and it proves him to be another amazing addition to the current hip-hop powerhouse that is Top Dawg Entertainment. The album stands as both smooth and beautiful in content. Even with his previously mentioned signing coming just this January, Zacari himself has a deep history with TDE by collaborating with the likes of Isaiah Rashad and Kendrick Lamar. But with literally just a handful of songs under his belt before his debut, the question must definitely be asked: how did he land himself onto some of this decade's genre-refining albums, and signed to one of the most currently respected hip-hop labels, Top Dawg Entertainment? Zachary Picaldo, who goes by just Zacari professionally, was born on April 8, 1996 in Bakersfield, California. He grew up in a heavily musical environment, which is shown by his 2017 interview with Billboard, where he shared some of his first memories. Quote, "My earliest memories are being 8, 9, and 10 years old at a performing arts school, singing Elvis Presley and James Brown songs and Broadway type stuff in this little after school program that my parents had me in." Unquote. He also shared his musical progression throughout his youth, growing from his Elvis recitals to leading his church congregation, which acted as a gateway for him to write both lyrics and guitar compositions. After graduating from high school, Zacari couldn't afford to go to his dream school, the Musicians Institute out of Los Angeles. Because of his situation, he moved to Alaska in order to find work, where he became a dishwasher and then later a fishing and bear viewing guide at a national park. When reflecting on his time in Alaska's influence on his music, he had to say, quote, "Alaska is just peaceful and refreshing, so it definitely contributed to my sound. It helped me find a sound that is different, because I had my acoustic guitar out there. Then I come to LA and learn about these beats, so I'm able to merge those two elements to find this balance." Unquote. On the topic of his return to California and move to LA, his first musical release seems to come from when he uploaded the track Foggy Windows to his SoundCloud in early 2015. Looking back at the track about 4 years later, it's almost a 9-day transformation that Zacari went through. He's backed by electronic and synth-heavy production from the producer Jay Lewis, and is almost awkward and overbearing against Zacari's relaxing energy. Even with its flaws though, Foggy Windows still holds up vocally and content-wise. It was a definite great musical debut for Zacari as an artist. Throughout 2015, Zacari would go on to release 4 more singles, with those being Coven Season, Heaven Sent, 2 O'Clock in the Morning, and I Should Be Dreaming. These singles were honestly all over the place, with Heaven Sent being an electronic track, backed by production from the same producer as Foggy Windows, Jay Lewis. I Should Be Dreaming having half of its 2 minutes and 30 seconds runtime be a saxophone solo, and Coven Season and 2 O'Clock in the Morning acting as mellow and R&B driven tracks. While none of these are necessarily awful, the only ones I would personally ever revisit are Coven Season and 2 O'Clock in the Morning. After his 2015 spree of singles, Zacari began a nearly 4 years in length stretch of feature work. Before his encounter with Top Dawg Entertainment in late 2016, Zacari was featured on Chris Webby's track Sativa. While being generally unfamiliar with the lineup myself on Sativa, Zacari provided a great hook on a surprisingly well executed posse cut released as a 420 dedication. Following his success with his beginning work, Zacari's manager, Musa Tifith, would present him with an opportunity that would change his career trajectory forever, and for the better. It would be a hook for Isaiah Rashad's critically acclaimed 2016 album, The Sun's Tirade. He said this when asked by Billboard how the opportunity came about. Quote, "Musa called me and said, Isaiah's trying to get a hook on this song. I just sent it. Can you record a hook?" I went straight to the studio and recorded that hook in like 30 minutes, and they hit me back right away and said they loved it. When I did that, I didn't know that Kendrick was going to be on it. I found out like 2 days before it came out. It was crazy. I was in awe. Unquote. The track, What's Wrong, would honestly be Zacari's best work yet, due to the artists he had surrounded his sound with in order to elevate himself. The verses from Isaiah and Kendrick are incredible, and the way they both worked with Zacari's verse that had already complemented their sounds quite well was amazing to hear. Following his work with Isaiah Rashad, Zacari in 2016 worked with TDE artist Absol on his album Do What Thou Wilt, with contributions on the track Raw Backwards. The track acts as his majestic opener to what is widely considered Absol's best project to date, and Zacari was easily able to capture that quality through his chorus he sang throughout the track. After his work with these TDE stars, Zacari would continue his work with them when he was given the opportunity by his manager for studio time with TDE's most major signee, Kendrick Lamar. In a 2017 interview with Pitchfork, Zacari shared, quote, "Kendrick was like, for sure, bring that guy." We went in, and Kendrick asked me to play him a few of my songs. The last song I played was the one he ended up picking up. Unquote. The song would end up making Kendrick Lamar's Damn on his 10th track Love, with Zacari being one of the album's 3 features, with those others being U2 and Rihanna. Looking at Kendrick's entire discography, the direction he went in with Damn was to obviously make the most accessible album, but while still retaining his creative ability, and I feel as though Love did just that for the album. It was definitely accessible, as shown by it currently nearing 500 million streams on Spotify, but is also a beautiful ballad with the subject matter being its title, Love. Love was honestly the ultimate upgrade for Zacari. After his previous work with Kendrick Lamar on What's Wrong in Love, it was clear that Kendrick had developed a liking towards Zacari's sound and style, which was further cemented when Zacari was all over his curated album dedicated to the 2018 film Black Panther. Zacari's contributions can be found on the 2 paired tracks, Redemption and Redemption Interlude. Redemption and Redemption Interlude were honestly just smooth tracks, with Zacari providing a spacey but upbeat interlude for Kendrick and the South African singer Babes Wandamu to work off of on their respective tracks. Following Black Panther and Love, Zacari went silent on both fans and the music media for nearly a year. He broke his silence though when he himself, TD as a label, and TD's signees announced that he'd been signed onto the label on January 25th of this year. The same day he announced his signing to TDE, he dropped his first single off of Run Wild Run Free, Don't Trip. The single, which was accompanied by a music video, really set the mood for the album in my opinion, with it almost acting as a stylistic successor to Love. A week after, the second single for the EP, Midas Touch, and its accompanying music video would drop, and it was a definite qualitative upgrade from Don't Trip, with Zacari going for a more abstract and spaced out vibe. On March 6th, TD and Zacari would reveal the cover art for Run Wild Run Free as an announcement for the EP and its release date of March 15th. Released on March 15th, Run Wild Run Free is quite short at 7 tracks or 22 minutes, but it's honestly a great cohesive project that doesn't try to be too much for a first project either. The entire project in one word can be described as uplifting, which can be found by some of the track names alone at first glance. The vibe of the album is spaced out, but it doesn't make itself mellow at all. While it has no features from fellow TDE signees, Zacari did land Lil Yachty, and it's honestly one of my favorite things I've heard from Lil Yachty in a while, because he sounded like he was just having fun, similar to what he was doing on Lil Boat. I particularly love the wolf imagery throughout the EP and from its lyrics, track titles, and the cover art because it provides a loose concept or symbol to represent Zacari's music. As a project, even if only being a small half-an-hour snippet of Zacari's capabilities, it doesn't overstay its welcome or try to be too abstract. In retrospect now, Zacari's entire career was leading up to something like Run Wild Run Free, because while he dabbled in electronic and instrumental work in the past, I feel as though by working off his sound he had found as early as Foggy Windows, this was always the project he was meant to make. I'm really excited for Zacari's future, and especially a first album, where he'll definitely be making bigger and bolder moves, and hopefully go more abstract like many of his peers have.